AI isn't just for answers, it's your strategic thinking partner. Ask it to push your thinking, spot blind spots, and refine your best ideas faster.
Join AI experts like Dr. Juliet, Jane Arnold, Gibran Jones, and Dr. Rick, as we will unpack what it really means to use AI as a strategic thinking partner in today's world.
Hi everyone, good day. My name is Shay, privileged to be your host for today, and I'll be guiding you through this session. You're very welcome to the April edition of Global AI Clinic, a platform where we try to ensure that persons have actionable insights in concerning AI so that they can be better and more productive in their workplace. And today's session is around decision making. You would agree with me that there is so much AI tools right now. In fact, if you can indulge me, you can drop in the chat the AI tools that are your favorites right now. I would really love to read that. I'm sure it will be interesting also for our speakers. So everyone has access to AI, but then the question we're trying to answer today is, how do you use AI or adopt AI as your strategic thinking partner? How do you ensure that you make AI that great brainstorming partner that should be able to make more optimal decisions? And to start us off, I'll be passing over the mic to Dr. Juliet, who is the president of Houston AI Institute, who will be doing us the honors of giving us the opening remark for this session. Over to you, Dr. Juliet.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. We are so happy that you are here. I am Dr. Juliet Igboanusi, the president of Houston AI Institute. At the Institute, we are building an ecosystem that brings industry, academia, the workforce, and the community together. So what does that mean? We help them understand AI and how to use AI. And of course, for them to also understand how AI is impacting them in their daily lives, in their daily work, because we already know that AI is changing the landscape of everything. And how do we do that? We provide education and hands-on experiences for them. For the industry, for example, we help them identify the skills need that the new workforce has to have before they can be part of the, I would say, the new ecosystem that even the industries are building on their own. And then we also help them to see what the return on investment will be or might be if they choose to adopt any AI in their workplace. For the community, we help them advocate for ethical and responsible use, and by doing that, we ensure that impacted people are brought to the table to have the right conversations. And then for the academia, we help them ensure that they are aware of the new skills that is needed in the workplace and that they are diligently preparing the students with the skills that they need to face the workforce of tomorrow. And then for the students, we help them try to identify the new opportunities because we hear most of the time that AI is taking over jobs and that people are going to be out of jobs. But as that is also happening, is bringing opportunities. So we help them identify where that opportunities are. And instead of looking at roles, we are helping them look at skills that they will need to face the workforce of tomorrow. So I'm going to leave it there, and I employ you all to, check us out, go to our website, see us on LinkedIn, and see all the wonderful things we have prepared for you. And in stopping, I'm going to thank the panelists for today, very formidable panelists, and I pale, alongside of them. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Juliet, for that awesome opening remark. You've given us the proper context to what we're trying to achieve here. And I'm just going to piggyback on where you ended, thanking our incredible lineup of speakers, because I'm going to be introducing them. Firstly, with Dr. Juliet, Dr. Rick, Jane, and Gibran. So starting off with the president of Houston AI Institute, Dr. Juliet Igboanusi herself. She is a strategic leader with 15 plus years driving global sustainability and innovation. She's now pioneering AI adoption at the intersection of education, business, and governance. Our focus right now is about empowering youth, just as she mentioned in our opening remark. She's also empowering executives, policymakers with AI skills and ethical insights, and also transformative tools to create measurable impact in today's technological driven world. You're welcome, Dr. Juliet. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Moving on to the next on our incredible lineup today, we have Dr. Rick Fernandez, who is the Chief of Growth and Workforce Integration at Blue Kids. He is a former Texas superintendent with executive experience at Accenture, Answer Advisory, and Power School. He helps leaders leverage AI for strategic decision making and is also empowering professionals to navigate high-stakes environments, sharpen their judgments, and confidently use AI as a thinking partner. Dr. Rick, it's an honor to have you here with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Next up, we have Jane Arnold, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Apparel, AI-driven data quality. She is a senior executive with 30 plus years experience in manufacturing, technology, and AI-driven digital transformation. She has spent over 15 years at Covestro as the SVP of Global Process Control Technology, and then later led enterprise transformation at Stanley Black and Decker. She's a recognized keynote speaker on Industry 4.0 and data-driven decision making. We are honored to have you here, Jane.
Thank you.
Last but definitely not the least, we have Gibran Jones, who is the owner of Crimson Square Marketing. He is a Meta certified lead trainer, digital marketer with over 20 years of experience and a veteran of the US Army. He specializes in Facebook ads, search engine optimization, Instagram Reels, and digital marketing. He also holds a Meta Digital Marketing Associate, Meta Media Planning, and Meta Lead Trainer certifications. He is a sought after expert for industry podcasts and speaking events, delivering training to small businesses on Reels, content creation, and Meta advertising. Gibran, I can't wait to hear the insight you have for us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Cool. And with that, we move to the panel discussion. But before I go into the questions that I have for our speakers, I would like to also implore us to please listen carefully. So in case you have questions, you can always drop them in the chat, and I'm sure that our speakers would do justice to answer them. I asked my icebreaker question was around the favorite AI tools. So I'm just going to read some of them because I'm sure this would also help to provide context to discussions we'll have in the panel session. So Dr. Juliet said Perplexity, Gibran, Stack is Manus, Cloud, Perplexity, and Meta AI. There's Gemini. I see Cloud, ChatGPT, Meta AI. I see Claude, OpenAI. I see Claude, Grok AI, and Manus AI. I see Claude is, really winning everyone's favorite choice. So I just move with that into the panel session. The first question is for the president of Houston AI Institute, Dr. Juliet. When you hear AI as a thinking partner, what does that actually look like for you in real life?
When I hear thinking, so in everyday life, what I do, this is outside of AI. If I have to make very important decisions, either ask my family, get their opinion about what I want to do, or I am doodling on a sheet of paper, doing the pros and cons, and depending on what that decision gets me to, it could take several days, several weeks, and all of that. But with AI, it just makes life a lot more easier. Now, I've had conversations with people where, because I'm starting with this, when we put this out as the topic for the month, the first reaction I got from LinkedIn was, oh, really? You all are dumbing down thinking process now. However, the individual who wrote that also used AI to help them with the graphic that they made. So where I'm going with this is that it depends on what you're doing and how you construct it. So for me, in my everyday life now, what I do is that I do a lot of research. So I use Perplexity a lot. And the reason I use Perplexity is because it has more of real-time content than ChatGPT. I mean, I use ChatGPT as a sparring partner. Like I can go to ChatGPT because I've already trained that model to question me, to push back. People go like, okay, ChatGPT doesn't do that. No, not really, it does. It has to be the context. You have to provide it with the context. You have to tell it what you want it to do, and then it will give you the assets at the end of the day. So I would say something like, okay, I am trying to make a decision or I'm trying to brainstorm on this and that. Now I want you to act as my sparring partner and I want you to poke holes in this theory that I have about this topic and give me the reasons that you are making the suggestions that you are making. And it does just that. And we go back and forth, back and forth. But one thing I always say is that there's this 10-80-10 rule. The 10 is me providing the prompts, providing the context. The 80 is the whatever the large language model, whether you're using Perplexity or ChatGPT or Claude, they do the rest of the work. That gives me time to go get a cup of coffee. And then I come back and then I look at the next 10% of that work is me looking at the pros and cons, the suggestions, the recommendations, the data set that it's been giving me the patterns that it has identified in the data that I provided, if that is what I was looking for, the options that it has given me to help me get faster to the decision that I want to make. So it acts as a sparring partner. It helps me with options. It helps me with identifying patterns quicker than I would have normally done it because it does have real-time information more than I can even tell. So I think I will just stop there for right now because I mean, I can talk about the topic all day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Juliet. That was quite insightful. And your love for perplexity is already giving me an interest to try it out sometime. I really like how you mentioned around the 80-10-10 rule. I think that's going to be something that our audience would definitely take as an actionable insight to try out immediately after this session. Um, that would then lead me to my next question. We would be for Jane Arnold. Jane, can you walk us through a real example of how you've used AI to solve a problem or make a decision?
Okay, I'm happy to. I've been using an AI tool for a couple of years now, trying to kind of trialing it out and doing some things and doing some research. And one thing to note is that if it gives you quotes, you need to make sure that it also gives you the references because occasionally it's not fully accurate. But I think the most impactful way that we've used it so far is with the company I work for, Aperio, we're looking at go to market and who do we market to, and what are we offering that market. And we've been over the past year or so marketing or directing to operations, so people in operations, so industrial operations, because our software works with time series data from operations. And so this actually, our CEO, Jonas Helgren, had used ChatGPT to discuss how we're doing go-to-market. And I was really worried about confirmation bias. So he shared with me his project, and I went through and separately actually challenged more on the go-to-market definition. And you first ask the question, but you have to make sure that your AI companion knows exactly what you're referring to. So first, I had to define what data quality is, the kind of things that we're doing and what that actually means. And I defined all of our competitors, both in the IT and the OT space, and then asked ChatGPT to tell me, well, how are these other companies marketing? What is their go-to-market strategy that you can see? And then how is it that we're different and what can we do differently? And if you're using ChatGPT a lot, you find that it's very complimentary. So you feel like, yeah, I'm on the right path. So you really have to argue with it. And, lucky for me, I like to argue. So I would argue with it to make sure that, hey, we're talking about the right thing. And it led me to the same conclusion that Jonas had on our go-to-market strategy. And we're actually pitching now for data quality that goes into AI models needing to be accurate instead of working directly with operations teams on fixing their process problems. And I think the pitch is right. The work ends up being at the same level in operations, but in order to use your time series data, you have to make sure it's good if you're going to build a model with it.
Thank you so much, Jane. From what I could really glean from what you said, it's just similar to the same thread that Dr. Juliet mentioned around training the model, right?
Yes.
You get the best of your prompts, really. So as you said about pushing back, asking questions, arguing with it per se, with those good prompts, you'd be able to, enable it or train it to be a better thinking partner. That would then lead me to the question here for Gibran. So in your line of experience, do you have or can you share a simple framework or approach for using AI to think more clearly and strategically?
Oh, yeah, of course. First, you need to rely on your memory, meaning you have to remember it's just a tool. AI is just it's a very cool tool, but it's just a tool. Same thing with a hammer, with a saw, with a jack, with a lever. It makes things easier, but you still have to do the work. It can't do the work for you. It can just help you with the work. Another thing to remember is, if we can have everyone in the chat, put a one in the chat if you've ever talked to a child. If you've ever talked to a child, put the one in the chat. So here's the thing. With children, think about if you were to tell a 5, 6-year-old, clean your room, and that's it. That's the end of the discussion, right? Clean your room. We know how many interpretations of a clean room they can come up with, especially if they want to come outside or get dessert, right? You can't just say clean your room. You have to give them context. You have to tell it what a clean room looks like. What are your expectations? How do you do things? AI is the same way. We credit it with the term artificial intelligence, but intelligence doesn't mean much without context. And lastly, I'll give the example of it's just like a junior analyst, and this is their first job out of college. It will work hard, it will stay late, it will come in early, but it lacks context. This is why we do things, this is how we do things, this is how I want you to respond, this is why I want you to do things a certain way. And so you have to train, as spoken before with the two previous speakers, training the model. So, example is every new AI tool I interact with, my first prompt is not asking it for something. My first prompt is, this is who I am. These are my websites. This is what I do. This is how I like to be spoken to. This is how I like the responses to be. This is how I like you to cite things, so on and so forth. If you lay out that context, it makes everything forward so much easier.
Thank you, Gibran. That's just very profound. So context is king, right? When making AI your strategic thinking partner. So now to you, Dr. Rick, the last but not the least question. So what's the one mistake people make when relying on AI for thinking, and how can they avoid it?
Well, I think the context of thinking is already a mistake. I don't think that it allows you to think. I think it does a couple of things. It allows you to be faster, more volume, but it doesn't really add more value. And so when you think of, like, I think someone mentioned earlier that AI has the potential to kind of limit our ability to think critically. I would tell you it's the exact opposite. It will force people to have to think critically, because if everyone has the same answers, or everyone has access to the same tools that can get to some type of answer, well, then the thinking part is actually what the value proposition is what your differentiator is in the workforce, or if you're looking for a job, or if you're a student. So to think of it as it's thinking with you, I don't know that I agree with that. I think that you use it for context, you use it for speed, you use it for the tool that it is, but you still have to execute on whatever the output is. You still have to educate other teammates, staff members about how to put it in practice. So there's still a lot of connective tissue that has to be done by a human. And so when you think of it in terms of, well, how is it helping me think? It can get your ideas started, but ultimately the value is, all right, how do I take this thing that's fast about this topic and then build something that's actually useful in practice that I can share. So just know what it is at this point, and hey, 10 years down the road, it may be thinking for all of us. But currently, it has some limitations, and you need to know what those are and provide the context when you're asking it questions, and then be realistic about what the expectations are, whatever output. Because most of the time, I think Jane, you said it earlier, it's over affirming, right? Like most of the time, it's agreeing with whatever the question may be. So you have to be very careful about how you frame it and the value you put on anything that you drop into an AI tool.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rick. So basically, always remember that it's a tool, right? And you're still the one in charge. So you're still the one to do the thinking, but just ensure that you use the advantages that it can bring around the volume, as you mentioned. So from this point, we're going to open it up for questions. You can start popping your questions in the chat and our speakers will be answering them. Or if you want to raise your hand, you can do so, and I'll give you, unmute you to ask your questions now. While we wait for questions, just so we don't have a silent room, I'll just throw one myself to Gibran. Is it when you're thinking about using AI as your strategic thinking partner, should I be bothered about the exact tool I'm using? Because, currently on LinkedIn, there is a competition or there's a debate around ChatGPT or cloud. And then you hear people saying, I'm moving to cloud, I'm changing. So is it a thing about the tool itself? Or is it about me getting better in my prompts and, in giving context? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would say mostly it's about you getting better on your prompts and knowing what you're looking for. And then also when someone is saying this is better than that, what are they basing it off of, right? Is it did they actually run some type of test, or are they just do they like these answers better than those answers, right? Like ChatGPT uses Llama, right? Llama is Meta's large language model. So could you really say that ChatGPT is better than Meta AI when they use Meta's AI in their tool, right? So what does better look like? What is this based off of? But I think prompting is something that you can control, that you use day to day. Ultimately, what I predict is going to happen as capabilities catch up and marketing gets better is they're going to end up just like the browser wars, right? You got Opera, Mozilla, Chrome, you have Firefox, you have Safari, right? And it just depends on your preference. So right now we have this proliferation of different AI tools, but ultimately I think there's just going to be a few left as they catch up in capability, and the one consistent that you as a business owner or as a user can take charge of is your ability to prompt efficiently, unless you're just going to create your own AI tool, which if you don't already have that skill set is going to be a huge waste of time, right? So focus more on the prompting. When someone says this is better than that, you have to evaluate whether it's just preference or they actually do some type of scientific test and what does better look like, and is their better match your better.
Wow, thank you so much, Gibran. I like how you ended it. Does their better match your better? That's pretty much it. Thank you so much. So we already have
I
some
actually
questions.
have an
Okay,
add-on to that, if you don't mind. So I
sure.
have a
Of course, of
colleague
course.
who uses two different AI applications, so ChatGPT and Claude. And he alternates which he starts with, but he'll start with one, he'll develop something, and then he loads it into the other one to get feedback on it, and vice versa. And in the end, he feels like he gets the best model, but he's using the skills from multiple AI companions in order to build what he's working on. So along with what you're saying.
Thank you so much for that add-on. Does anyone else have anything to add to that question or cool? Okay. Eagles Asha is asking, AI can process data faster than humans, but how do you balance AI-driven insight with human intuition and ethics, especially in high-stakes decision? Dr. Reed, do you want to take this?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of hard data that across all sectors, right? We'll I'll use education for an example. You can show all of the hard data from your standardized testing scores or how students are performing, but and know what a possible solution if it's not to a school district's liking. But even with that, all of the politics, all of the people issues come into play, and that will never go away. And so it is great to have the fast access to data to show, okay, this is where we need to go, or this is how we need to execute. But it never takes away from understanding what the people motivation is, what how humans interact, where the politics are going to lie, how people are going to probably react to something that's uncomfortable or new or change, right? We're seeing it in education right now where a lot of school districts and universities, the first reaction was to push back heavily on AI and worried about all the cheating, and slowly everybody's kind of figuring out it's not going anywhere, and we've got to get beyond worrying about academic integrity and figure out how do we leverage this tool that's gonna affect the rest of our lives and all the generations to come. So the human factor can never really be erased when it comes to that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rick. Dr. Juliet, do you want to add to that? I think Jessica is asking a follow-up question on that, but how about research? So high-stake decision, but then in the context of research.
So I thank you, Dr. Rick. With regard to AI use, one thing I always say is your AI just knows what your AI knows. And that means with the context that is provided in seeking whatever knowledge that it can help you with, that is what is residing inside the AI. AI has no empathy, AI has no nuance, it doesn't know your environment. So I always take whatever asset that I produce with a grain of salt. And that means that it doesn't know what happened in my environment today. It doesn't know the politics like Rick stated and all of that. It just knows, again, what it knows. And that is why it's very important. Even as a chief AI officer, trying to work with consultants and trying to work with people, I always tell them the rule is always your 10-80-10. That I never deviate from. So the 10 is providing context, knowing that, okay, there's still some things that I have not put in there, that the AI tool has not considered in giving me the answer that it's giving me. And then it does the work for me. And then I have to go back again, the 10%, the human in the loop, to go one, ascertain that the asset that is given to me, I'm okay with that. Or maybe I'm not okay with it, but I have to fact check if it's something that needs to be fact checked. But it helps me with processing things faster, It helps me with information faster because as an individual, and also as the president of the institute, people now expect me to know so much, which is very like, okay, oh, you're the president of Houston AI Institute, so you have to know everything that happened the night before. So I have trained some of my models to help me with finding out, okay, what happened? What 3 things do I need to know as the president of Houston AI Institute that happened while I was sleeping? So that when I walk out my door and somebody mentions it, so those are the kind of ways but that doesn't mean I have to take everything the way that is presented. So that human has always got to be in the loop. You still have the brain, you still have the empathy, you know the context. Your AI tool doesn't know what it doesn't know. What it knows is what is sitting in the prompt that you've given it. And you have to make sure that you're putting all the other context around the decision that you are making. And that is why the institutes were about ethics. And going back to what Rick said about students, we are really pushing hard on the school districts because saying that the students are going to cheat, it is not the AI problem. And I say that all the time. Cheating or doing not, it is a human problem. Someone who is going to cheat is going to cheat, just like the AI tools and whatever tool, just make it faster for them to do so. So ethics is something that is inherent. It is in you. Responsibility is something that is in you. It has nothing to do with the tools. It has something to do with us as human beings. So they have to teach in the schools, they have to teach them how to use the tools and how to use them responsibly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Juliet. That was quite insightful. I'm sure Eagles has his answer. So I'll move on to Daisy. She's asking, in what ways has AI helped you think more creatively or explore unconventional strategies? Jane, I'd love to hear your thoughts here.
Okay, well, I have always considered myself like very fact-based and doing things based on data. So my whole career has been that way. The creative part is non-existent, in my opinion. And so recently I've been starting like a LinkedIn campaign trying to get the algorithm for people to see me again because I've been quiet for a couple of years. And I asked ChatGPT to help me with that campaign based on the work that I do in my history, so it knows about me and all of that. And it would always recommend, well, you need to show a picture of this. I'm like, well, what on earth is that going to look like? I could spend 3 months trying to develop a picture. And so I ask it to give examples. I'm like, oh, these are so good. I wish I could have thought of that. So from the imaging standpoint, I'm now getting all of my imaging ideas from OpenAI, and but the content itself, I still do the arguing and making sure that it's actually accurate, because it sometimes tells me to post things that don't make any sense based on the overall theme of things, and so you have to know your topic if you're going to be using it. And I think that's a risk that people have. They're going to get so comfortable with using it and just trusting it, that if they don't know the topic ahead of time, they're going to be going in the wrong direction. And I've spent, years and years and years doing all kinds of research, and it's so convenient to use AI for some of those research things. And again, asking for references, and so that's mostly how I'm using it from a creative standpoint. For something that's an unconventional strategy, I don't really have an example for that.
Thank you so much. I really like what you said about you have to know your topic. I think that's really something that everyone should keep in mind. Gibran, I would love to hear your thoughts on this question, seeing you work in the marketing space. So you might be able to help us with how AI has helped you explore unconventional strategies.
Oh yeah. So like reading a lot, trying to stay up to date in the industry, it's like you see all these suggestions and try this campaign and try that campaign, right? So there's what I think it looks like, and then I'll ask a tool like, okay, now what does this campaign look like for this particular company? Because one of the biggest things that I have to correct is, especially working in the social media space, a lot of companies don't realize that everything they put out is boring, right? You're putting it out on social media, there's cats chasing the laser, your boring stock photo, and then someone playing a prank on somebody. They don't realize the feed. So it's like, how do we make that appropriate for social media for a company without making them look unprofessional or like they're just clowns in a circus, right? So AI helps with that. Like, what does this look like for this particular company? For this particular service, like Dr. James was saying about pictures, right? I'm much in the same vein. I'm a self-professed nerd. So when you come to creativity, it's like, okay, now what does this look like? And it'll give me the spark so that I can either change my prompt or I'll download what they have and tell them, okay, make this editable. I'll download it, upload it to Canva, change some elements, and then I'll put it out. Ultimately, as Dr. Rick spoke about earlier, like it's just the human touch that's not going away, but it keeps me from starting from a blank page, right? No matter how I prompt it, I can't tell it everything I like and don't like. But normally, with most of us, we know what we don't like once we see it, right? So I'll give them that starting point, download it, and then I'll edit it to what I want it to be in Canva or whatever tool you like.
Thank you so much. Daisy, I hope our speakers have done justice to your question. Moving on to Jessica. Jessica is asking how AI is used to generate software code. Who would like to take this question?
So I can give an example. I cannot tell you
Awesome.
how, because it's been a long time since I've done like what I call real work, actually doing code. So at Aperio in the R&D team, we have an AI companion. We call him Albert. It's based on Claude in our software that we sell, and you can actually ask it, what are my biggest problems to worry about today? Like to what you said, Juliet, on what are the top 3 things I need to worry about? You can do that with Albert. And I learned recently that they're also using Claude Code to generate code. And so I'm assuming that Claude has access to to GitLab or GitHub and
GitHub.
actually has access to the code and saying, here, I want to change this. But they had started out using Claude to check the work, like do a QA. There was a human there also doing QA, but utilizing Claude to find some nuanced things that maybe the human isn't seeing because they're not clicking on every little thing. We actually have much cleaner releases now with not near as many errors that you would get in code because we have this AI tool actually checking everything in the background. And then, as I said, I learned that they were also using it to start generating code as well. We have not replaced R&D, but it is making them more efficient, and we're able to meet our deadlines, even ahead of time instead of behind the times.
Thank you so much, Jane. Does anyone have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so for me,
Okay.
maybe not
Yeah.
as technical or as elaborate as Jane's. I actually use ChatGPT, which is surprising, you know. So I do a lot of vibe coding, and because I do vibe coding, most times when I go to tools like Base 44 or Lovable, it takes a little bit of time for me to provide the context that I need on there. So what I do is that I go to ChatGPT and I spar again with ChatGPT to tell it what I needed to do. And then what I would ask ChatGPT to do is to take a persona. So I want you to act as, my scriptwriter, or I want to use Lovable to generate. So I want you to generate codes for, XYZ project that I'm working on. I'm developing an app, or trying to work on a workflow. This is what it looks like. I need you to stay within these parameters. Remember, again, context, give it boundaries. And it will generate all that for me. And all I need to do is just copy the whole thing with the code and then just put it in Lovable. And boom, I have my app, or I have my workflow. But you have to remember that for vibe coding, that is really just prototypes. So it's not something that you're just going to run to the market and start making money off of. So I want to be sure that people understand that. So that is just my one little cent that I'm adding to that answer that Jane
Thank you
gave.
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Juliet. So, Jessica, you have your stack. You can try out Cloud to generate code. To chip in one or two things, I have also used Cloud to generate a personal portfolio for myself, and you could launch it either using Cloud, or you could use other free interactive page launchers like Netlify. And Dr. Juliet also gave you another stack around ChatGPT and Lovable. I hope you give it a try and let us know how it goes. Now to the last question we have, but definitely not the least, from Benjamin, is asking, you use two AI tools with same function, but you get different outcomes. So how do you handle that or decipher the correct path? The prompts are the same, but the outcomes are different. What do you do? Dr. Rick?
It depends on what the ask is. If I'm trying to get granular on data, then I like to use multiple tools to see kind of to level set, if you will. Most of the prompt tools are using some type of mean regression. So you're getting averages more times than not. So if it's granular, I will use a variety of tools. If it's something very general, I go with ease of use and function. Like I use probably Gemini the most, just because I like the way it functions. I just a preference, right? So I think the ask is where you need to decide, all right, how granular do I need to get, and what types of bias am I willing to accept, because they all have bias built into it. So it just is going to be dependent upon what you're looking to solve with it.
Thank you so much. So it boils down to the question or the topic you're trying to solve. Gibran, do you want to add to this question?
Oh yeah, much in line with Dr. Rick. Like that's where your personal preference comes in, Benjamin. It's like which one is closer to what you would think of as a complete and or finished product, right? You just got to put the finishing touches on it. Or I think Dr. J said earlier, take those prompts from those two different um, tools and then input them in the opposite tool and ask it to evaluate it. And that way you could probably come up with a more complete product and or output, right? So say I generated it in chat GPT and in perplexity and it came out somewhat different. I'll take the perplexity outcome, put it in chat GPT and say, okay, now evaluate this answer for what I initially asked for. And I'll do the same in perplexity with the chat GPT answer. And then I'll see how close I can get those two together to my final product. At the end of the day, it's all on you. Remember, it's just a tool. If we were in school and I used the search engine, it would never be acceptable for my professor to say it was wrong, and I would just say, well, that's what Google said. Like, no, you have to verify that answer. So when you're in charge of it, it's really going to come down to, okay, am I willing to stand beside this output? And then that's the one I'm going to go with, or that's the one I'm going to choose, in my case, to modify because, I don't want to start from a blank page. So think about it like that. Remember, there is no like better because it's all going to come down to you, your product, your business, your service, and how you're looking at that outcome.
Thank you so much, Gibran. Benjamin, I hope that answered your question. See that there are no more questions. We still have some time, so if you want to still ask questions, you still have some 2 seconds to drop it in the chat. For the
I
lack
think
of no more questions,
I
okay,
can follow up on something. I saw that Jessica had said something about research, and that's
awesome.
actually how I started using, or when I started using ChatGPT regularly, was doing research. And because before now, clearly I didn't have Google when I was in school, so I'm showing my age here. But you go to the library, you read all these books, you're going through all the encyclopedias, you're spending all this time there. Well, now you have this computer and this chatbot, and you just enter in your question there. So I was looking at, what kind of impact my company, Perio, could have on industrials based on the standard failure rate of transmitters. Now this sounds really technical, but the manufacturers of the transmitters do show the mean time between failures, but those are tested in controlled areas, right? And so you want to get what is the actual failure, like in paper and pulp, it's in a corrosive environment, so the transmitters don't work as long, they fail more often, and trying to build up actually a potential ROI for what we're doing. But I really got lost in the research asking about different industries and what's happening here and getting all these examples of major failures and what was the root cause and all that. It was super interesting. And so then I was writing some conclusions, and I always like to have references for my work. And they would say, well, McKinsey says, and had a quote. And so I would ask, okay, where is that quote on the internet? Oh, that quote doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, could you give me one that does exist that I can actually use and attach to my PowerPoint where this information comes from? And it was really fun for me that I got so much information in such a quick time that was valuable. And no shame on the libraries. I have one that's within walking distance, and I go there frequently. But it really helped the work that I was doing and condense how much time I needed in order to do that work.
Hey,
Thank you
Dr.
so
Jane,
much for, yeah.
there's a case in Georgia right now where a law firm's in trouble because they were quoting cases that didn't exist.
Yes.
And I think it's the Supreme Court of Georgia was like, well, where is that case? Like, you're quoting cases that don't even exist. And I was like, oh, they use AI and they didn't take those steps that Dr. Jane just spoke about. Like, does this actually exist? Where are the sources? So we're seeing this in real time with all manner and level of professional.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that actually came up at I was at a workshop yesterday where I talked to business leaders. And one of the things that I kept stressing, and I mean, I couldn't talk about it long enough, was you are not going to come out in the news and blame Gemini or blame Perplexity or blame whatever AI model. You are the leader. You're still the leader. So as the CEO, you are responsible. It is your problem and you have to solve it. So if you don't understand and you don't have a strategy for AI adoption in your company, you are really in real trouble because there's so much creeping under and you're not going to just sit and wait on the explosion. And when you're on the news, you go like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, it was the AI. So yeah, Gibran, thank you for bringing that up. I am watching that news because I'm going to be speaking again, and those are those examples that, I'll be throwing out there, as much as I can, letting people know it is not your AI that is the problem. We are the problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow. That's quite profound. Thank you, everyone. I believe that was the last question. I believe everyone on this call would have had, a mindset shift. This was not just a theme; it's just really a call out that you cannot allow AI to think for you. You just use it as a partner to give you ideas. But as everyone on this call has already said, our speakers have rightly said over and over again, resounding that you are in charge. You make the decision and you'll be responsible for the consequences that come at the very end. So do with that, what you may. With that, I would like to hand over to Dr. Juliet for the closing remark as we bring this session to a close.
So first, Shay, thank you so much. You were really incredible. And the panelists, oh my goodness, thank you so much for bringing so much knowledge and expertise to the table. And I thank you for the participants for the time that you've spent today. This is a monthly triage. So next month we'll be having other topics. So look for it on LinkedIn and join us again so that we can continue to have this conversation. And again, remember, the Houston AI Institute is there to help you your AI journey wherever you are. If you're a student, come talk to us and let's see what you think about the new workplace. And then if you're in the industry, what are those skills that people should have when they come in academia? Are you sure that you're teaching them to use AI the right way and stuff like that? And for the community, we care, we're interested, and we are making sure that the right conversations are being had in the right places. And you just need to come to the table. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful time. See you next month in May.
Later.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
day.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.